a quest for access to justice in India. So I am a lawyer turned entrepreneur, and I run a couple of businesses out of Delhi. And I grew up in a small town called Howrah, a suburb near Calcutta. And you know, when I was a kid, my understanding of the world included a concept of fairness and justice. And the idea was that things are fair and things are just, and that is a default, that is a given in my world. So that's how I was. But then when I was aged 14, at 14 years old, something happened that really had a profound and lasting effect on me. Okay, and what is this that happened? So it was an incident of roadside violence. It must have lasted for not more than 5 minutes. Okay, but it left me with a with something that I could even see it in my dreams. It used to come back in my dreams. Now, what was it? Is that I will give a description of the incident. So I was going home from tuition, after tuition, on a cycle, and so as I was going, suddenly someone in another cycle bumped into me, like behind me on the cycle, and I was thrown off the road, and I got off the cycle, somehow managed not to fall flat on my face, just got off the cycle was on the ground, and I turned around and I was like, what is this? And I shouted at the guy, right? What do you think you're doing? In Bengali, of course. And this person did not respond the way I thought he will respond. He simply walked up to me and one slap, right, on my face. And I was, wow, what just happened? And I protested. And he slapped me once, twice, thrice. And I was like, I started crying out of shock, and I was devastated. Okay? And I was half expecting that people around me, like there are a lot of people on the road, some people sitting under a tree, will come and stop and do something about this. But no one did anything. Everyone was just sitting there and watching what is going on. And I took my cycle, and I was crying, and I was insulted, and I didn't know what to do. And I took my cycle, went home straight to complain to my dad, because the father knows what to do, right? How to solve this. So I went off and I met my father and told him that this is what happened. And the funny thing is that the person who, the aggressor, I knew him by name, vaguely. Like I didn't know who exactly who he is and all of that. I knew his name somehow because, somewhere I heard it in the locality. So I went and told my father, and he recognized. He said, oh, I know him. And he would be at so-and-so club at this point of time. So my father took me, and both of us went to that club to see what we can do about it. And for me, it was like a quest of justice. That, someone did such a bad thing to me, and if some injustice happened, then it has to be restored. The order has to be restored. So I went in this quest with my father. So we went into this club building, and there were some guys standing there playing carom, and my father pointed at the guy and called him, and he came, and I was fuming that time, like, my God, now justice is about to happen. So my father asked him, why did you hit him? What happened? That person said, he thinks too highly of himself. He shouted at me. I am older than him. How can he shout at me? I wanted to teach him a lesson. And I was like, what? Who are you to teach me a lesson? What the heck? And he just said this, and then there were other people and uncles and all. They came and said that this is not done. You should not do this. He's right. Okay, you say sorry. They asked the aggressor to say sorry to me. And that person said, sorry. Now, it didn't matter to him that he said sorry, and that was the quality of justice I got. And I don't know what I was expecting, but I realized that this is all I can get, right? So, this was my brush with reality. what happens when you actually seek justice is something like this. So I got three profound realizations out of this experience. One is that the world is not fair by default like I used to think, right? People don't really care if I am treated fairly or not. You know, for everyone it's like, you know, they're looking after their interests, and you know, and I for the first time started seeing all the injustice which was going on around me. So another thing I got is that I am responsible for my own safety. I am responsible for the justice or the fairness I want in my life. No one is going to give it to me. And the way that came into my head at that age was that I must take things in my own hands, right? And I am going to have to arrange justice for me. It is not going to come just like that. The world is not going to give it to me. And another thing I saw is that there is no fair and acceptable way to dispute. Like, you know, whenever you have a dispute with someone, there is no fair and acceptable way of resolving it. What matters is that who is stronger. That matters. You know, who has more money, influence, or number on their side, that matters. And that is how disputes are resolved around me. And I started seeing it for the first time in my life. So, you know what happened after this at the age of 14 when something like this happened, and you know, it really used to come back in my, like, you know, I couldn't deal with that, what happened. The communication was not settled with me, that how can this be? So for me, it became that I have to develop my talent in violence. So I went ahead, learned many forms of martial arts, learned boxing and all of that. And after that, for sure, no one could actually come and hit me and get away with it. But you know, that didn't really satisfy me. Like, that was not fairness, that was not justice, okay? And rather I was left with more anxiety and, you know, disturbance in my own mind that, you know, this doesn't work. So I went on to study law after that, okay? So as I grew by the age of 18, 19, I went to study law, like against the wishes of everyone around me. But that was very strongly inside me that, you know, there has to be an answer in law, if nothing else. And I discovered a whole new world, okay, once I started studying law. It's like, law is like a basic design. Like, you know, I found suddenly like a magical thing which kind of defines the rules of the world in which we interact and how things are supposed to be. An entire country is designed, an entire state, city, everything is designed by the law. And that really, you know, kind of inspired me and empowered me that, you know, you can create a world, a society with law. And, you know, this is something that when I was thinking of this, I really wanted to ask each one of you to think about this, that, you know, we live in Southeast Asia, in a country, right, which is surrounded by countries like Bangladesh, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, China, Nepal, so, which have been like, you know, history. If you see the history of a region, it is of violence, of military coups, of, you know, governments taking over. Like, you know, democracy is not the norm. Why is that we are one country that has democracy? Why is that we are a country where no matter how bad the political scenario might be, whatever we are criticizing, whatever the corruption we are dealing with, but the election happens, people vote, they change the government if they want, no matter how powerful the government is. And why is that? How come people have a choice? And for that, the answer I found in the Constitution. Okay? And I saw over time, as I was studying law, I traveled in other countries, and I saw that we have an amazing legal system. Okay? People have this perception that Indian legal system is really inferior. I agree that it doesn't work, and I'll come to that. But it's not that, you know, it's still really amazing what it is and how it is like. Right? In fact, multiple countries copy our laws. When they created when Nepal created a constitution, they hired my vice chancellor, who was a constitutional expert, to contribute in that. I have met people who have contributed the constitution of many other countries, and those countries were designed with their expertise. And our constitutions, our laws are considered to be examples in many countries, follows as precedents in many countries. Still things don't work, right? So, and the fact that it doesn't work is right now affecting you sitting in your chair in this room in one way or the other. Okay, so giving you some examples, you know, what is India's rank in enforceability of contracts in the world? Okay, I mean, I mean, I just guess it. I mean, and like I keep asking this, like I keep asking people, and no one ever is able to give me the right answer. According to a World Bank survey, the very famous ease of doing business index, right, which our government is trying to our rank in that index, the government is trying to increase. In that, there is a parameter called enforceability of contracts. We are 189 out of 191 countries surveyed recently. Okay, the two countries which are worse than us, which will give you an idea of where we are, is South Sudan and East Timor. Every other country in the world is better off than us in terms of contract enforceability. If you ever entered into a contract, probably that what is written in that paper is not worth the paper it is written on. And I have been a lawyer, and I'm saying that to you. What is the average time a judge of Delhi High Court will give you your case? Can you you have filed a case, spend a lot of money, hire the best lawyer. What is the average time that a Delhi High Court I've taken as a random example because I have data for that. What do you think will be the time? Can someone shout out some number of hours, days, minutes? 5 minutes. 5 minutes, my friend, 5 minutes. That is what your profound legal knowledge will get, or whatever case will get for the sake of justice in front of a judge. That's the average. Not that every case goes on for 5 minutes, but 5 minutes is the life of average case. Less than the length of an average phone call in India. How long is the queue for justice? So according to the information given by the Delhi High Court, it will take 466 years for it to resolve all the cases which is already pending before that, given those 5 minutes that they give. Okay, Tihar jail, the sanctioned strength 4,500 inmates, more than double lodged there right now. Approximate data, don't hold me to exact number, but more than double people for sure are lodged there. And 75% of them are not there because their guilt has been proven, but because they are under trial. Someone accused them, this person has done so and so, and they are in jail. Okay? And you won't believe, just do the maths, maybe it's too short time for you to wrap your head around this math, but 90% of the under trials are released within 2 years. Okay? So they are actually in the jail for that 6 months, 1 year, 2 year period, just because someone accused them and their trial hasn't even begun, they get bail anyway. So why were they in the jail in the first place? Either send them to jail and they are in the jail, I understand the purpose for putting them in the jail, then before their trial begins they should not be released, or don't send them to jail. Do the trial, prove their crime, put them in jail. It makes no sense once you start really looking into the numbers. Now, how bad is this situation will give you an indication. There is a deep number of civil cases being filed in our country. So if you look at the number of civil cases filed in 2006 and 2016, you will see that the number has decreased, which is an absurdity, because normally if the economy is growing, the number of cases should grow, right? No, it has been coming down because people have realized that the civil justice system doesn't work. You'll have to wait for those many number of years, it doesn't work. So, the system doesn't work anymore. It's on a verge of a collapse. Okay, it's not collapsing for lawyers and judges, but for people it's already collapsing. I started working as a lawyer, as a merger and acquisition lawyer in Bombay. I had a good, flat, I had a good salary, but I couldn't really connect with my work when all this is going around. So I started up in 2012, started by working on education for lawyers and people. I really believe that education for people will make a difference. If we can teach them how the law works, what the system works, because it worked for me. So started working with some existing universities and industry bodies, and we really bet on online courses, that if we can put this knowledge out there, what I got, and it can reach people, it will make a real difference in their life. And we focused on businessmen. We said that if it works for businessmen, we can make it work for anyone. And the idea was to create business leaders in India with extraordinary regulatory acumen. Just think why Reliance or Dhirubhai Ambani became who they became, and what was their competitive advantage. Industry academia panel. So we decided that we did a simple thing. We went to the top lawyers, bureaucrats, entrepreneurs, and said that you volunteer some time, sitting in your office, you start teaching and start giving practical lessons. And for that we created an university industry academia panel, that transfer of knowledge, legal and regulatory knowledge will happen from the industry to the academia, and on a voluntary basis. And out of that we started getting learners from 15 countries interested in Indian law. Okay, and people of different caliber, including people in from the government, entrepreneurs, CMDs of listed companies, lawyers, law students, a whole range of people. But we realized very soon, in 3 years, that there is a limitation of this model. That was working, but this is not going to bring justice in India. Okay, this is not going to satisfy my quest for justice. So we started something called Project Law Sikho. Okay, it's a community project by lawyers, where lawyers are creating tutorials on day-to-day issues, okay, and putting it online, like how to file FIR, how to claim your PF money, how to get your insurance money, how to deal with a credit card fraud, and like regular issues like that. And we realized that giving them the knowledge is also sometimes not enough. And where do people go for a solution then? We created something called Click Lawyer, which is a project again. It is an experimental project where we use a mix of psychology and law to do things like recover money, enforce contracts, and enforce rights of people. And results we got was phenomenal, right? I would love to share it with you. Like a certain amount of money was recovered, and it's so efficient. It's really working out, and we look forward to creating this kind of infrastructures. Quicker resolution of disputes, right? Arbitration was introduced in India in 1996 in a new form, and it still doesn't work for multiple reasons. I would love to share that, but I can't probably talk much about it. So what we thought is that we'll create an Access to Justice Institute in India, and it's something that I'm still working on. That what if we can have online arbitration? What if we can have private dispute resolution? You and I have a dispute, and a third person can resolve that. We don't have to necessarily go to the court, but there's an infrastructure problem for that. So we have been experimenting on this, that the law also allows it, that there need not be any hearing. You submit your submissions from both sides in writing, and it is decided based on that, at a very minimal cost. And the good thing is that any one of you can be an arbitrator, right? You can, we want to train industry insiders with some experience of the industry to become arbitrators, so that they can decide and resolve disputes. Okay? So I want you to imagine how the telephone industry was in 1990, when only government provided the telephone services, right? The basic problem was of infrastructure. When infrastructure was created by the private sector, a lot of things became possible. And the same thing can be done with justice industry, right? So there can be an industry which provides justice. So what is possible in this country if contracts could be enforced, people could not use criminal law as a threat against people? What could be happen in this country? What would be the impact on GDP? What could be the impact on our economy and our quality of our personal lives? I want each one of you to think about that. Okay, why do we have only 10 judges per million population, whereas we should be having 100, which is a standard for developed countries, or 50, which is recommended by our Supreme Court? Why does the government spend only 0.8% of its budget on judiciary and justice system? And it is because of us, because of people like you and me, that we haven't put enough importance on justice in our society, that it is like this. And it is in our hands. So it is my invitation to each of you, that don't be okay with no justice. Okay, it can make a world of difference to whatever work you do. If justice is available to each one of us, and we live in a fair and just society, it will truly change every result that you are producing today. Okay, thank you very much. I invite you to take a stand today, and thank you for your listening.